Good morning, one and all. A hearty welcome to everyone present here for this expert talk, Society, Theatre and Classroom. In the words of Yassima Reza, theatre is a mirror, a sharp reflection of society. It is a privilege to have such an eminent personality for a session like this. Let us start this session with a silent prayer. I would like to invite Professor Jayanti, Faculty, Department of English, to welcome the gathering.
Good morning, all. A playwright who gives 60 million English-speaking Indians an identity. Alik Padamsi, one of the foremost personalities in Indian theatre, once commented about Mahesh Dattani. He is India's most lauded contemporary playwright in English. Labeled by theatre scholars as the definite voice of modern urban India, he was honored by the Sahitya Akademi with the Distinguished Award in 1998. From religious fundamentalism to child sexual abuse, to gender roles, to homosexuality, to arranged marriage, his plays have confronted issues that could cause many an Indian audience to squirm. We are privileged and honored to have you amidst us for the expert talk entitled Society, Theatre and Classroom, Mahesh Dattani in conversation with Jayantians. On behalf of the entire Kristu Jayanti family, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the renowned Indian director, actor, playwright, and writer, Mahesh Dattani. Hearty welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
The charismatic visionary and an enthusiastic scholar, Reverend Dr. Agustin George, principal of Kristu Jayanti College, the pillar of support for all the endeavors of our department. We welcome you, Father. I'm happy to welcome Father Lijo P. Thomas, Financial Administrator and Head Department of Computer Science, Father Joshi Matthew, Member, Management Team and Faculty, Department of English, and all the fathers in the management team to this program. If I did not mention the name of the person behind this program, I'll fail in my duty. The one who relentlessly worked hard to organize this event and make it a reality, Dr. Lilikuti Abraham. I would like to welcome you, ma'am. I'm pleased to welcome all the heads of the departments, coordinators, and faculty members from various departments to this event. Our students are privileged and fortunate to get an opportunity to interact with a writer whom they are studying in their syllabus. So hearty welcome, dear Jayantians. I wish this interaction will give new perspectives to our students. Once again, I welcome you all. I remain. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Lilikuti, Faculty, Department of English, to introduce the guest speaker of the day to the gathering.
Good morning, everyone. Chief guest of the day, Mahesh Dattani, sir. Dean of Humanities, Dr. Gopakumar A.V., Reverend Father Joshi Matthew, Member of Management Team, Mr. Jayanti, Coordinator of English Department, my dear colleagues and friends, and you, my dear students. Mahesh Dattani is a name very familiar to all of us, especially we teachers. We have, in our student days, have studied his plays, and now we teach his plays. And you, students, study his plays in the final year BA, the final solutions. And the second year students would be studying the same in the next year. So this introduction is mainly for the second year students. I begin with a quotation from Mahesh Dattani himself. I have to take inspiration from real life and make it my own. Unless theatre is about the human condition, it doesn't always work. These words sum up the evolution of the man, Mahesh Dattani, playwright, stage and film director, actor, and teacher. Nandini Krishnan, in one of the websites, describes him, I quote, ever accommodating playwright who on some days has 3 different productions of 3 different plays on in 3 different countries at the same time. When I wrote to Mahesh sir, I too found him very accommodative and ready to spend his invaluable time with all of us. We are indeed blessed to have a luminary in our institution and our department particularly. Born and brought up in Bangalore and graduated from St. Joseph's College, Bangalore with HEP combination and completing his post-graduation in marketing and advertising, Mahesh Dattani, in his younger days, wanted to be a copywriter, a fashionable profession in those days. But later he joined his father's pioneering business. The seeker in him finally found his vocation in theater when he noticed the lacunae of Indian plays in English that would respond to the Indian situation. He wrote his first full-length play, Where There Is a Will, and since 1995, he has been working as a full-time theater professional. He has brought to limelight the issues of Indian society in particular and the society at large, which nobody else would even dare to speak outwardly. And I just would like to mention one particular thing about him, that he is the first playwright writing in English to be awarded Sahitya Akademi Award. And what makes him distinct is that he closely observes the society and he represents that in his plays. So I welcome you, sir, to our midst to interact with us. And thank you very much for responding to us and being present. Thank you so much. Atira?
Now for Mr. Mahesh Dattani to speak.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And what a pleasure it is to have this virtual conference, with students who are studying theatre. To me, I think, excuse me. One of the things that really gives me a great deal of satisfaction when I'm directing a play or conducting workshops is my interactions with the next generation of theatre practitioners. And it's this exchange of ideas, which we call dialogue, which I think keeps me connected with my art as much, because theater is so much about the here and now, because as a writer, as a playwright, I write for my time and place. And I think it's very important to stay connected with time. It's very easy to sort of sit back and glorify the past. The past is never as beautiful as we older people claim it to be. And the future is never as bleak as some people would like to think it is. So what's true, what's imagined, what's delusion? I think these are questions that we as academicians and artists, practitioners of art are constantly addressing these questions. Now, I'm not one for lectures. I don't give lectures. So I like an interaction. So I would be very happy to open this out for questions, or if Dr. Abraham has any questions set aside for me, I'll be very happy to respond to them. Thank you.
Yes, sir. The students will be asking you questions directly. Dear students, you can unmute yourself and ask questions. If you have network issues, you can even type it in the chat box. So please begin. I invite Nikita Patani first to ask the question. Yeah, meanwhile, she gets connected. I would like to ask you or make a comment, sir. The play that we were studying in the classroom, every time I go through the play, read it again to prepare the class, I find something new, and you can even go deeper and deeper into it. So I marvel at it. How is it possible for you to write depicting the reality of our society? How did you manage to do it? It's a wonder to me to look at the play. And every aspect of the society, even the minute details in persons like Daksha going back, what a girl's feelings would be. How did you manage to do it? It's a wonder.
I guess it's like I said, it's a combination of your personal world, not necessarily private, although private can also be personal, and your sense of imagination. And where does the imagination come from? It comes from living life, and it's really your experiences that are playing out in a subconscious manner. And I think a lot of writing is on the subconscious, and I think it's your connection with this deeper layer of your identity, which can, in many ways, reflect the truth. So in many ways, we're not very different as artists, as philosophers, as scientists, as spiritualists, whether it's science, religion, or art, or whatever. The pursuit is of the ultimate truth in one way or another. With art, it's the human condition. With spirituality, it's a connection between humanity and another energy. With philosophy, it is questioning the very nature of human existence. So all these are very, very big questions. And I don't think the little intellect can answer these. I think one has to rely on, tap into the other resources that we have, and trust those resources as well. I mean, sometimes I feel that the little intellect gets overplayed and overrated very much in our day-to-day lives, because survival is never about the gut instinct as it was in the animal kingdom, right? Survival now is of the intelligence. But where does art come in then? I think once the survival, the intelligence of survival has been addressed, when we are no longer under threat, I think that's when we can reflect on our lives and mirror what, that was a wonderful quote from Yasmina Raza, that, we are reflecting life in many ways. And I think there is a lot to be said for the truism that art is a mirror of life.
Yes, thank you, sir. We can approach your plays from different perspectives, from psychological perspective, from sociological perspective, from political perspective. In any way, we can read it. And that's the beauty of your works. I have a question here from, it is from Shreya Vishwanath. In the age of digital entertainment, do you believe theater could be a dying form of entertainment?
I think the more disintegrated our lives get with virtual reality, because here we are, sharing the same time, but not the same space, right? So as you could see, the things that were completely a priori earlier, time and space, and matter existing in this, that's disintegrating now, and we don't know what the future holds. I think theater, because it integrates time, space, energy, flow, everything that life has, theater reconstructs. I think theater is going to come at a premium, because we can't live a disintegrated life. We need the integrity, which a healthy ecosystem provides us. And as we move farther and farther away from it, I think the longing and the need for it is going to grow. So there will be a time when theater will come at a premium. Just as you're looking at water today, water, it's one of the elements. It's as abundant as earth and wind, right? But we're in our lifespan, we're seeing the disintegration with nature and water coming at a premium. So in that sense, I think theater can only grow from here. That it will have its place for sure. And I think the digital entertainment industry has a lot to offer. I mean, that's an art form by itself. One can't deny it. It's artistic merit. And of course, it is possible to explore a lot through the digital medium, if you consider it as an aesthetic art form. But if you consider it as a substitute for theater, then it doesn't work. Same as if you consider theater as a substitute for the digital, then it comes out very poorly. It can only be a poor country cousin of cinema, which offers so much richness and variety and sensory appeal. It is what it is. And I think when you acknowledge its merit, we will understand that it has its place in our lives.
Thank you, sir. Nikita, you can ask your question now.
Finding solutions and other plays.
Louder, Nikita.
Okay. Sir, the play Finding Solutions and Other Plays have questioned the Sahitya Akademi Award. The play, written in 1991, still has its relevance even today. And the issues discussed in the play, like communal violence, are still prevailing. So, how do you feel when you reflect upon the plays that you have written are still prevalent in today's context? And students like us are studying your plays in them.
Yeah, sir, I'll read that for you. Yeah, since it was a feeble voice.
Thank
Sir,
you.
The play Final Solutions fetched you the Sahitya Akademi Award. The play, written in 1991, still have relevance even today, and the issues that are discussed in the play, like communal violence, are still prevailing. How do you feel when you reflect upon the plays that you have written are still relevant in today's context, and students like us are studying your plays in depth?
Well, I'll tell you what would make me very happy is if students were studying my plays as a period piece, saying, oh, that's how it was 30 years ago, right? What is a little disheartening is that we're studying the play and revisiting the play as something that's happening now. And I think that's a very sad state of affairs. That nothing has changed in these 30 years. In fact, if you ask me personally, things have gotten worse. I think, we were looking at, earlier I feel that we were looking at very honest differences. And of course, all of us had an instinct for belonging to a particular pack, community. And these tensions usually came due to misunderstandings or differences, cultural differences. One can understand that. But I think if you ask me what is the major difference, is the animosity and the antagonism that we see today. It is manipulated. That it's not, we've moved beyond cultural differences, because if we're all using Zoom, we're all using technology, we're all, using academia and art and everything, regardless of what your cultural background is, right? So if we were to look at simply the functionality of day-to-day life, this should be a non-issue. Right? I mean, there are pockets in rural areas where there is an interdependency between communities, like amongst certain washer communities. There is one community that collects the clothes. There's another community that washes them, another one that delivers them back, whatnot. And none of them want any disharmony because it affects their economy. There is a cultural ecosystem at place, and that is being disrupted. And if you ask me, that is the primary difference between having written the play in 91 and what we see. And I think there may be a danger if we look at Final Solutions as a play that is relevant today. I think today deserves another play of its own, because what's happening today is different from what happened 30 years ago. And I think I would encourage young people to write about what's happening. Of course, I plan to. I haven't retired, so I'm definitely working on a play which is about the situation we have right now. But I think it's younger voices that should speak. I mean, 30 years ago, mine was a young voice. And I think I had the privilege and the passion to use my young voice. And I would strongly urge you and encourage you to do the same, because you owe it to the future. You definitely do. I think 30 years from now, I think to have a document about what's happening in 2021 in your college, in your chosen field, may not be art or it may not be theater, whatever, right? Make it matter. Even if it's a dissertation paper that you're writing, consider it as a very, very important document, and that it's a responsibility that goes beyond, the expectations of your mentor or the expectations of your syllabus or whatever. So I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but that was a very important question that Nikita asked, because yes, seemingly it may look like, yes, things haven't changed and the play is still relevant. But I think that there is, if you scratch the surface, there is a huge difference.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Senora, again related to Final Solutions. As a writer, you must have thought about at least one solution for the play. What might have been your solution for this ending, other than stating that there is no solution in quotation for the matters of our religious conflicts in our society and country?
Okay, here's the thing. As artists, we, at best, we raise the right questions, right? And I think if one can get people thinking about these questions, everyone is intelligent. It's not that only artists have the foresight or the vision to offer solutions. I think everyone does, and the artist's job is to provoke and evoke those solutions to prevent us from sort of being complacent. And it's very easy to get comfortable in life, and I think good art prods you. It pokes you in the ribs sometimes. I think it was Peter Brook who said that art must disturb. And by disturb, it means it's like, it's very easy to have still waters and, all the mud is sort of settled in and you don't care about it. But in the long run, it can get very toxic. What art does is it disrupts, it agitates that, and the muddied water comes up. And then we realize we could see, where all the sort of the muck is, and that we need to do something about it. So I think that's the sort of scope of art. I think too many romantic expectations of art have sort of come into that it's this sort of romance that it has solutions, that it has intelligence, it has I think it's a reflection, and I think it has depth, certainly, because I think it's a connection between the receiver of the art and the creator of the art. And I think whatever the object of art, whether it's a play or a painting or whatever, then is a kind of, well, it's a medium. That's why we call it a medium. So a medium, in the highest sense of the word, is something that energy goes through. Right? We've heard of clairvoyance and mediums and things like that, right? So there's something passing through. So if you read my play, 30 years, it was written before most of you were born. But still, there's something coming through. And I think that really is the scope of art. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Next question is from Aditya. He's asking, sir, you are a writer, actor, and director. Which do you enjoy the most and why?
Okay. Well, I stopped enjoying acting, so I don't act anymore. Now I'm bouncing between writing and directing. Those are the two, and teaching. I love conducting workshops, not academic ones, but for serious practitioners of theatre. So to answer your question, again, it's hard. The worst scenario is that when I'm directing, I would say, oh, why am I taking on the headache of dealing with these people? I think I should stick on as a writer, right? And then when I'm writing, I say, oh God, I'm stuck in my room and I've got all these ideas and stuff. And why am I not interacting with more creative people, right? So you don't want that situation. So I've sort of tricked myself into believing that when I'm writing, this is what I want to do forever. And when I'm directing, this is what I want to do forever. And I think that's a very nice trick because it keeps me happy then.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Next question is from Persis. Of course, Final Solutions was a commissioned play. Yet, she's asking, sir, what inspired you to write this play, Final Solutions? The inspiration she's asking for.
Okay, yeah. A very interesting question, because when Alec asked me to write a play on the sort of Hindu-Muslim tensions, this was in the late 80s when the parliament had brought in this whole thing about Ram Janmabhoomi and that, the land which the masjid is on belongs to Hindus, etc., right? So for me, it was a non-issue. And for most of us, quite frankly, we didn't see the foreshadowing of things to come. But Alec had the insight and he had the vision and he had a very political intellect. Right. And he told me that this is what's happening in the parliament. And remember, these were the days before internet. So I had no idea. Right. I wasn't very fond of reading the political headlines in the newspapers. I would always just focus on the cultural pages and the literary supplements and things like that. Big mistake. I think you need to focus on everything, including those things. So I said, no, I can't. I don't think I'm capable of doing this because I know nothing about what's going on, right? And I used to live in Bangalore then. He invited me to Mumbai and he took me to J.B. Pettit School where his ex-wife Pearl Padamsee was training the students there in theatre. And he had set up a meeting with students. He'd sent them a questionnaire on what it means to be Hindu, what it means to be Christian, what it means to be Muslim to them. And they were young people. I'm talking 30 years ago, and they probably said the same thing you would say, that, it's either it's not an issue at all, it doesn't mean anything to me, or it would be that, yes, who I am shouldn't come into the social space. If I go to church, it shouldn't affect my my relationship with people who don't go to the church, or same thing with the mosque or with the temple or whatever. right? And they did an improvisation in which two Muslim boys were running away from a mob, and they seek shelter in a household, which is a very conservative Hindu household. So there's the dilemma of the humanity, that you save the lives of two people. And then there's the conflict that these belong to a community whom we hate. And for the matriarch, it triggers very unpleasant memories of the partition and what happened around that time, right? So I think I could see the dramatic potential of that, and I said yes. And after that, it took me, because this was before the internet, so to do my research, interview people, it took me about a year. So it took me a year and a half to write it. And sure enough, things changed drastically in the country, even while I was writing the play. But on a side note, what I asked my mother, how was it growing up in a village in Gujarat? And you went to school. She was amongst the few girls of her generation who had the privilege of going to school. And she said, oh, I loved it. I used to love my teachers and everything. And I said, did you have any Muslim friends? And without missing a beat, she said, yes, there were all these Khoja girls, and they were so beautiful. And, we used to sort of play together, in the break and things. Then I asked her, so did you visit their homes after school? And she just looked at me as if, what a strange question to ask. Of course not. Because they eat meat, we don't, and likewise, they don't come over to our place. So there were these boundaries of differences, definitely, but at the same time, it didn't affect social interactions on many levels, right? Some levels, yes, it may have. Like I'm sure those things have probably changed now. But Daksha is very much inspired from my mother's story. Since you know the play, her transgression of actually going to their homes and the great consequences of that was very interesting, dramatic material. And I felt I had to have that parallel story, because what was happening from my research, I could gather, was, again, like how we compare today with what happened 30 years ago with, the Bombay riots and the Babri Masjid, and then later on what happened in Naroda Park and stuff. The same way in the 90s, one could compare with partition, what happened 50 years ago. Right. So in that sense, well, that's to answer your question. That's the inspiration behind Final Solutions. The name, of course, comes from Hitler's pogrom of what he considered to be the final solution, which is the supremacy of the Aryan race and the annihilation of every other race.
Thank you, sir. When I was explaining this incident of two boys taking shelter in during the communal riots, one of my students asked me what happened after that. They were interested to know that. Were they really treated well in their house? What was the end of that story of those two boys taking
in the improvisation? Yes, it did end on a very... Now, this was an improv by students of your age, or probably even younger, because it was a school. So they were like 14 or 15 years old. And so, yes, the improvisation had happy ending, Hindu, Muslim, bye-bye, and all that, which, of course, it's very cute, but it's not true, is it? So that ended that way. And well, one can admire the romance of it and the idealism of it, that's what we would love. This whole thing of complete amity between people. But I think that can only come about on social planes. It should come on social planes. And unfortunately, our culture as India, I'm talking about India, not just Hinduism, that we have political differences on the social plane, which is a very, very problematic area, right? Is that you have this whole caste system in place and you can't escape it. You could change your religion, but you can't escape that system. It just sort of has permeated the social system. And I think it is such a big mistake. We have so much going for us. We could be, one of the greatest cultures in the world. This is what is keeping us behind. And I would like to believe that yes, things can change on the social plane, and they must. I don't think we have a choice there. They must change. But at the same time, over the years, earlier, I used to feel, oh, religion, what's this whole thing about religion? Either you believe in it or not, or just shut up, just sit down. And if you believe in something, go ahead, practice it. Don't thrust it down other people's throats and things. But I feel acknowledging differences is a part of coming to social equity. I feel that if you're looking at that kind of egalitarianism, it can't come from hiding differences. We have to address the elephant in the room. And I think that's where art wins, because we don't believe in hiding things. We believe in revealing things. And then once the muck is out there, then it's for us as a society, what do we do with it?
Thank you, sir. I now request Professor Eboklang Paingrop to ask the question. Boxer. Okay, by the time he gets ready, I have the next question. This is from Achu Anna Matthew. Do you believe that power relations are the core reasons for the issues we find in family, society, and in all organizational setup?
Yeah, power relations are at the core of inequality, right? And what is politics? It is power play. It is when you want power over others. That's what we call politics. Whether it's power of administration, which is actually the limit and the scope of political parties and political administration. Right, but power never doesn't know boundaries, right? And the saying "absolute power corrupts absolutely" is also true. So you could look at a family unit that yes, there are power relations there. Now, is the power relation there for a healthy reason? Is it to bring an environment of some kind of work ethic or a discipline, a social discipline? Is that the extent of the power, or does it go beyond that? If it goes beyond that, it's a dysfunctional society, family then, right? Where usually it's the patriarch whose feelings matter more than anyone else's. So that's when it becomes unhealthy. So we can't escape power relations, right? Because that's there in the animal world as well. And it's part of our nature that any culture over thousands and thousands of years, even cavemen, there has been a power structure because that's the way a society functions, right? But what is the scope of that power? That we need to question. Right, like I said, yes, we give administrative power to political groups, and we elect the one in a democracy, the one whom we think will will govern. It's about governance, isn't it? But then what happens when that power is invested in them, right? That they don't understand those boundaries. It's for us to keep them at check. And that's where art also plays a huge role, I think. It's the same with society. It's the same with gender as well. It's the same with caste. You could look at caste as a division of labor, but the minute you make it hereditary, that becomes a problem, doesn't it? Because it gives absolute power to some sections and it removes power from other sections. But if it's fluid, right, then yes, everything is functioning. Right? There are countries in Europe where barbers and carpenters earn more than professors, right? That because there is that acknowledgement that labor is at a premium, that you can't really put a price on human labor, right? So I mean, of course, we've had Marxism and all those theories, but I think what's happening today either requires a great rethinking of everything or new theories to emerge.
Thank you, sir. Bok, sir, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Okay. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Apologies, I wasn't able to unmute earlier. A very good morning once again, sir, and thank you so much for joining us today. I would like to put on record that I'm a huge fan. I have loved each and every reading that I had, from Tara to Dance Like a Man and Final Solutions. I've enjoyed each and every, that spark at the end or that twist in the end. So thank you so much for the wonderful writings. So my question would be based mostly on writing in the form of poetry or play or novel, especially in the present times, when keeping in mind with the sensitivity of the administration. Do you think that in somehow concealing the truth makes it an injustice art, even though it's necessary for survival to some extent? So that's my question.
Yeah, that's a very tricky question. Okay, my issue is with your phrase concealment of the truth, right? Let's explore that a little further. By the way, you speak so well. I envy you, your voice. It's beautiful. I wish I had your voice.
He is a theater person.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, your colleagues agree with me. That what let me I think I can explain best by example is that if you look at a play like The Merchant of Venice, right, this was written in a predominantly Christian society where Jews were not allowed to be, I don't think they were allowed in the country, right, and the only profession they were allowed was money lending because it was against the values of Christianity. Now, Shakespeare's plays were commissioned by Christian kings and queens, right? So what does he do? Can he conceal the truth, right? Now, I think you could subvert the truth. I would use the word subversion rather than conceal. That on the surface of it, it looks like Shylock is this evil Jew demanding his pound of flesh. But the most beautiful poetry in the whole play is given to Shylock when he says, "Hath not a Jew eyes? If you prick us, do we not bleed?" Right? And then if you wrong us, will we not seek revenge? Right? And any actor worth his salt, even today after 400 years, would want to play Shylock and would not want to play Bassanio or Antonio or the others, right? Now, that is subversion of the truth. He survived, right? And you do want to survive so that you can live to write some more. That's very important. But the fact is that he subverted it so beautifully that it escaped the Lord Chamberlain's censors because they just read what's on the page. And it says there right in the beginning, Shylock, an evil Jew, right? And all that is subversion. You could see that what has survived is the humanity of the subaltern. You know, he's given the subaltern a voice in that play. And very rarely is a production of The Merchant of Venice done today, where he's a villain. He's always the underdog in modern productions, right? So I don't know whether that answers your question, but yes, please survive, because we want you to live to write some more, right? But I think concealing the truth is not survival. That in itself is death to the artist. So you've killed yourself by doing that. But I think subverting, I think is a good, and that's why we have poetry. That's why we have metaphors and symbols, and there's so many tools available to us as artists. You know, you just look at Guernica, the painting, and it's about war and destruction, but you just look at it and you want peace. That's all you want when you look at that painting, because it's so horrific. So I think that's what art does.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have only 15 minutes more, and my chat box is flooded with questions. A lot of questions. So some of these questions might be overlapping because they have already typed it in the beginning of the session. So you must have already answered. Still, I'll be reading that. This question is from Upama. Sir, have you always been interested in being a playwright, or was there something that moved you deeply to be one?
Good question. No, I started off being mesmerized by actors. When I saw my first play, that's all you see, what is in front of you. And acting, I said, I want to be an actor. And I watched movies too, but somehow theater, captured my imagination. And then most of my early years were spent in wanting to be an actor. And I had a huge problem, is that I was very shy. Right, and I was, and I still am an introvert, and it's good. I'm very happy that I am. But as you sort of grow older, there's the ambivert in you comes out. You find a balance somehow, right? So that's how it began, and then I took to direction, which is something I love very much even today. And I only began writing because for a very long time, I was directing plays that were Eurocentric. I was doing plays that were European, like either Greek tragedies or Alan Ayckbourn comedies, or American, like Neil Simon or whatever was available. And somehow it just didn't speak to me. And when I saw a few Kannada plays and then later Hindi plays in Bombay, I realized that the audience was completely involved in what was going on. And there were some lines which people really applauded, right? That never happened in the kind of plays I was doing, because it was like completely alien to them. And that's when I thought, let me try my hand at writing something. Because the plays that I saw in Kannada and in Hindi, when I read English translations, somehow they were more, maybe they were academic translations, I don't know at that time what, but it just didn't seem right. And I felt that, okay, I think I can try my hand at writing. And that's how, so I became a writer, a playwright by accident. By the simple need that I wanted a play in English, but set in culture and milieu that me and my audiences could identify.
Yes, sir. Next question. Sir, you said reality is reflected in art through creativity. In the play Final Solutions, did you have a specific motto to employ music as one of the important symbols in the play?
Yes. I felt that the use of rhythm was very important, because the mob, as you know, they're both Hindu and Muslim. So their lines are written in a meter, right? If you read the script, I don't know how good the meter is. Now, when I look back on it, I think I could do better. But they're meant to be set to a metronomic beat, like in a Greek chorus or something, right? So yes, but more than that, part of the story, as you well know, you've read the play, is the metaphor of music and religion, right? For example, I'm sure Daksha's family, because around the same time, there was the Hindu film Mirabai, in which M.S. Subbalakshmi played Mirabai. Now, I have a feeling that had Daksha been singing Mira's songs from the film, since she's a film enthusiast, it would have been okay for Gaju and Wag to have said, let her sing, right? But I have a feeling because she was singing Noor Jahan's songs, it was a problem, right? Now, here's the thing, is Bollywood pre-partition, it was a huge dilemma for writers and singers and actors as to where they belong, because Bollywood had created this wonderful knit of Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Northeast Indians, South Indians, West Indians, all working together to create what we call Bollywood today. So it was a real melting pot of ideas and creativity at that time. Now, when the partition happened, Muslim artists were being looked at differently, right? So it was a huge concern and a huge dilemma for singers like Noor Jahan. Where do they go? Or even Saadat Hasan Manto, right? Where do they stay in Bombay, or do they go to the newly created Pakistan, right? And some of them understandably went back, matter of survival, because they were getting the feeling that they were not wanted in this country anymore. Right. So I think all that on the political plane plays out through the lens of this 15-year-old bride. So in that sense, it only plays out on the personal plane, the friendship between her, but hopefully the metaphors of the music that I've used some way will reflect in the productions that the social and political plane will also play out as more and more audiences are better informed about the period and what transpired in that period.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, sir. It was asked by Surya. Next question by Artha Perla. What are your thoughts on the contemporary theatre? And one more question, how does theatre help gender mainstreaming with a focus on dance like a man?
Yeah, very good question and a very big question. So since we don't have much time, I wish this question had come out earlier. I would have just spent 1 hour talking on it, right? So I think contemporary theatre is very, very geared towards socio-political identities, right? Now, when I say socio-political, because the minute you say political, immediately we think of administration, of political administration. But the politics of wherever there's power play, it's political. That's the simple rule, right? I think they're very, very political. And I've seen 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds doing wonderful plays which are completely, like I saw a device piece between, well, there were more, there was a ensemble, but it was about 2 women discovering love for one another, and how tenderly and beautifully it was done. It was just marvelous to see teenagers do something like that. It was very, I feel that theatre is in the right hands, if you ask me. Aesthetically too, things are changing. They don't want all that melodrama, and they don't want all that rona dhona and everything. They want something which speaks from the heart, but has reasoning and has a political voice. I think that's a great thing to do. And once I start talking on Dance Like a Man, you'll have to tell me to shut up. So I'll keep it very simple. Yes, when I wrote Dance Like a Man, gender was not politically, it wasn't such a big issue. And even today, I have male dancers who write to me and say how much Dance Like a Man speaks to them, because we may consider ourselves a little more gender sensitive today, but are we really? Right? For parents, it would still be an issue if their son came up to them and said, I want to be a professional dancer. Right? They will have issues with it. So I think Dance Like a Man is one play where I still see the relevance of that things haven't changed that much. And also the fact is that in Dance Like a Man, when it was first performed, I got a lot of criticism on the fact that Ratna neglected her child, and that she is ambitious. So the question that would constantly come to me is, do you see liberation as ambition and neglect of duty? My only response to that is, why don't you even think of Jairaj as dutiful towards the child, right? Nobody questions him. Both of them went out and left the child with the ayah. It wasn't just Ratna who did that, right? But you never question that, right? That the blame always comes on the woman, because those are your expectations. So even the question is political. There is a power play even implied in the question as well. What you're saying is that it's a woman's job to stay at home and look after the child, whereas the man can go out and do what he wants, right? And ironically, the play was written to say that the man can't do what he wants because there's certain things that are not allowed for a man to do as well, right? But I think it's a play which is very relevant today. Yeah, period.
Thank you, sir. Next question. So you have handled topics considered to be extremely taboo in a period where artists chose to stick to generic ideas. How do you think the audience has changed over the years? Has it become more conservative?
I think so. Well, yes and no. I think I don't believe audiences have become more conservative. I think political administration has become more conservative because it manipulates, like I said. For example, look at Tendulkar's play. It's a play which in Hindi is titled Jati Pucho Sadhu Ki, right? Now, this is a line from a poem by a saint, Sant Tukaram, right? Basically, he's saying that there is no caste. That's the meaning. Now, the play is a comedy. It has a few caste references, but none of them are derogatory. And yet today, the MP government has banned the play, a play that has been in performance for 40 years, right? So yes, I think the political environment is getting more conservative because maybe it's reflecting a slightly more conservative leaning, which I think we as a society are at crossroads. We do want the past because there's some good things about the past, but we also have a foot in the future because that is real. That's very realistic, right? But what politics is doing is that it's nudging you into the past and saying this is where your identity lies. And so it attracts a majority vote bank. So never mind the minority, we'll never get them anyway. So let's get this majority, nudge them into the past, right? And we as generally, I think we are an emotional culture, and emotions are good, but it also means that it's very easy to manipulate you into hysteria. And what we're seeing today is definitely a form of hysteria, where there is this uncontrolled animosity and violence. It may not always play out physically, but the intent is very much there. I mean, we could see it in the kind of rape cases and stuff that we hear about, right? In terms of alternate sexuality, I wrote a play called On a Muggy Night in Mumbai in 95. I think, yes, I wrote it in 95, just when Bombay became Mumbai again. And that's how the title, that's how I remember I wrote it in 95. Even today, but what's interesting is when I wrote the play, the only one who had the courage to perform it was Lilette Dubé, right? And that too because of our friendship, artistic relationship as a producer and writer. Today, almost every young group wants to do that play, right? I keep getting emails saying, give us permission to do it. We want to do this, we want to do that, right? So I think that's a great thing. So yes, when we're talking about change, it can never be universal, right? Change is always specific and it works in pockets, like, and then it sort of has, it ripples, right? So even major revolutions, you would see it began in pockets, whether social revolutions or any kind of revolution. If you look at the Naxalbari revolution, now, of course, today, if you say Naxalite, it gives you an image of, psychopaths or sociopaths who are just anarchists and want to destroy anything. That's created, right? The Naxalbari movement began in Bengal, where it was for justice for the agrarian, right? The bonded laborers, the non-landed farmers, who were all treated as bonded laborers, right? They were signing away their souls for a bag of rice at the end of the season, right? That's why that revolution came out, that to the tiller belongs the land, right? So I see that revolution happening with young people today, right? It may, again, I mean, all over the world. I mean, who would have thought even 10 years ago, you would have Malala or Greta Thunberg or whoever. I mean, these are like, in their early teens, at least when they set off, they were in their early teens. And now they're leading a global movement on education, on environment, all the issues that concern all of humanity. It's not just one pocket, right? And it's interesting that these are the people who are being seen as unpatriotic or as evil, right? Because it can completely crumble the hierarchy which politicians are trying to create, right? And I think that they're very, very afraid of people like that.
Thank you, sir. One last question. I know we have crossed the time. It's out of curiosity. One student has asked, Shriba Elizabeth Saji is asking, this is just a curiosity I feel in all my literature classes and make me know from the writers. How do you feel when a classroom of 27 students come up with 27 different perspectives other than what you intended to say?
I think it's a great thing. I think it's wonderful. And I think that's the triumph of art. Because art provides multiple perspectives and it is complete only with the experience of the viewer or the audience or the reader, right? It is readerly in that sense, more than being writerly. I think, if you look at, The Old Man and the Sea, or I mean, the language is so simple. In fact, I mentioned Old Man and the Sea is because as a kid, that was the first real classic I could read and understand completely. It's so simple and so well written. And it's this old man, there's the sea, and there's the fish. And, there's the young boy, and that's it, right? And how beautiful and profound those relationships are. And each one of us, as a child, I read it, I see it differently. As an adult, I read it, I see it differently. And I think it's great that if there are different opinions and perspectives on the same work of art, I think that's why art lasts, because it is complete only with the experience of it, not with the production of it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, we would have liked to continue this for at least for a few more hours, but I know sir is so busy.
Wonderful questions. Thank you for asking those questions. All of you, teachers and students alike. I think they were very stimulating, and I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
Thank you very much. So now we have even, sir, will it be possible for us to have one more session like this with you? See the enthusiasm of the students.
Sure, why not? Yes, yeah, we could have another session.
Yeah, we will send the questions beforehand so that we can organize it in a better way.
Yeah, I think that may help. So we will be in touch on email, and we'll set up a time for that. Yes, thank you so much, Professor Matthew.
Atira, before we go to the vote of thanks, we will, if all of you can turn your videos on, we will have just a screenshot, memory. Kindly turn your videos on, so we'll have a screenshot.
Oh, is this your faculty?
Yeah, we have faculty and we have the students, everybody. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. I love this.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah. Jayanti sir, are you done with?
Did we get it?
Just a second, man. Just a second. I'm doing it.
Please, yeah. You know, the second year BA and the third year BA students are having their online classes. So they are at home. And we have the first year students here in the college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah, perhaps
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Abraham. Thank you for reaching out and inviting me for this session. I truly appreciate it. Yeah. And you have a wonderful college. I think you're doing great work with the students. And this is the future of education, if you ask me. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we have now Anna Felix to propose the vote of thanks.
Honorable Chief Guest, dignitaries, teachers, and my dear friends, today is indeed a great day for the English department at Kristu Jayanti College, as we have the distinct honor to welcome into our midst the esteemed guest, Mahesh Dattani sir, for a valuable session engaging in constructive and enriching conversation. Now it is time to acknowledge our gratitude. At the outset, I would like to express my utmost gratitude towards my college for giving me this privilege. I feel honored to express our gratitude to Dattani sir, the multidimensional playwright, celebrated writer, actor, and director. Studying your play Final Solutions in the classroom revealed your creative mind and your committed efforts to address issues like communal disharmony, religious tensions, and gender inequality. Now meeting you in person in this virtual mode and listening to you, we are truly inspired as well as deeply touched by your simplicity and your expert knowledge and experience in the field of theater. Sir, we are more than grateful. Thank you for taking time out of your busy life to be with us. I would like to express our gratitude to our principal, Reverend Dr. Augustine George, for his constant encouragement and his keen interest in art and literature, Reverend Father Joshi Matthew for accompanying us, Reverend Father Lijo P. Thomas for his interest in our growth, and all the other members of the management team. My sincere gratitude to Dr. Gopakumar A.V., the Dean of Humanities, for encouraging and supporting us. I wholeheartedly express my gratitude towards our teachers who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event a reality. I also thank all the faculty members of the English department. And finally, I express my sincere thanks and appreciation to my friends for actively taking part in the deliberations. Your eagerness made the session all the more interesting and lively. Thank you. In closing, I would like to leave everyone with this quote by none other than our honored guest. A work of art has its own socio-political energy to do with societal concerns, not the propagation of government manifestos. The agenda of art is to offer human experiences that raise our empathy levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You read that quote. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she found it out and she prepared it.
Amazing.
Yeah, our students are really smart, intelligent, and very creative.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's lovely, but one must love and leave.
Yeah.
But we will be in touch. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So there is this feedback form. Kindly, everyone, please fill the feedback form. And bye-bye, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sir, you can end the meeting.